Mike Van Wyck speaks, Milos Sarcev reveals his physique at 60, plus much more. What's up, Desktopers? Xavier Wills here for Desktop Bodybuilding, and we are back with another bodybuilding news video. And let's kick this one off with an update from a guy who's making his pro debut at the New York Pro, which has sort of traditionally become like a pro debut contest for a lot of guys, where guys get their feet wet, but we can see a lot of really good pro debuts there as well. And even though Nick Walker didn't make his pro debut at that contest, he did sort of make his unofficial pro debut, which was the following year after he did make that pro debut, like 3-4 weeks or whatever after turning pro. Anyhow, let's get back to Kennedy, because he's put this update up on his IG page, and he's looking absolutely ridiculous right now. He's added a ton of muscle working with Anyanwu over the last, I don't know if it's 2 years since he turned pro, I believe, and that's what he needed to do. I mean, what Kennedy really needs from that contest where he turned pro is he just needs more conditioning, which takes, more time, but he's needed to add the muscle as well. And Anyanwu is a phenomenal coach at getting people in condition. He works with Natalia Coelho, a whole bunch of people that have got in really, really tight shape. And I think he's one of the most underrated coaches out there. And I think Kennedy is going to make a real impact in that New York Pro. I believe 2 weeks later, he's doing the Legion Sports Fest. So hopefully, for Kennedy's sake, at one of those shows, he's able to get a qualification. One of the guys he will be competing against at that Legion Sports Fest, I don't know if Tonio is doing other shows as well, but he posted up this update just recently, one from the front and one from the back. And Tonio is really getting back to himself. He is a top 8 finisher in the Mr. Olympia Open. And people forget that because he wasn't at the Olympia last year, but he was the year prior, and he looked really, really damn good there. But obviously, the field is getting stronger, and Tonio needs to improve to maintain a top 8 position in the Olympia now, because the quality is, I'd say, overall improving year to year at the moment. Now, we could see a down year, no doubt, but the way pro bodybuilding is going at the moment, we're not really seeing that. So he posted up this and said, #hunting season is a go at Legion Sports Fest. Then he tagged in his coach, Jacoby, as well. So yeah, he's a great coach too. So I'm sure he's in very, very good hands, and Tonio's looking to get back to his best, and that back, as always, is looking absolutely ridiculous. Now to a guy that Kennedy will see at the New York Pro, and that's Regan Grimes. Posted up this, said, check in at 302.2 pounds, 121 days out, just to be specific. And he put #New York Pro, making every day count. And we saw an update from Regan Grimes. When was it? It was like, he posted it and said this was from a week ago, posted it like 3-4 days ago. So I'm guessing it's like a 10-day ago update. And now we're getting this one. He looks dramatically harder, and he's actually gone up in weight. So Regan looks like he's actually going to grow into this a little bit. And I'm super, super impressed, especially the way that upper body looks. I mean, Regan's always been a round guy, but it seems like he's added the necessary muscle he's needed to go to that next level. Now, especially to the upper body. That upper body is huge right now, and he's never had an issue with his legs either. It might just be slightly the angle of a photo where his upper body seems to be maybe slightly overpowering his legs. I don't think it's going to be an issue for Regan. Regan overall looks like he's improved very much to me. And if he can detail those legs in regardless, there's enough balance there. And they don't look weak at all to me. I'm just saying the upper body has gotten so much bigger that, the only area of his physique that maybe could look a little bit downsized, because we know Regan's really good from the back, is maybe those legs, but very much looking forward to seeing how he looks. Now onto a guy who they may well be up against at the New York Pro. If he does not win the Pittsburgh, he may well decide to go on to New York just 1 week later, because that's the way it plays out in the schedule. And that's Nick Walker, looking absolutely enormous here. And I mean, what do we want to see from Nick Walker? I know there's some people said he shouldn't be 300 pounds, he should be refining his physique, things like that, like Sean Ray and Bob Ciccarello. But for Nick, when he downsized a little bit, came in at that Arnold, I mean, he's really shredded. I wouldn't say he's overly downsized, but I'd say he maybe pushed it a little bit too far, where he could have been a tiny bit bigger. But you can still make arguments for him, winning that Arnold Classic as well. But Nick is huge here. I think the judges really want to see the freak factor with the conditioning. So he needs to be huge. He can't come down and be, the same size as other guys or close to the same size, and he's not going to out-pretty them. He could out-condition them, yes, but what's the trade-off for Nick Walker? I think he needs to come in, just at his best. So he needs to come in big and hard without, throwing his waist out, and, concentrate at the same time trying to bring that in. Now, it sounds like an easy thing to say, obviously a lot harder to do in practice, but I did hear Nick say on a podcast that he never does vacuums and things like that. That was maybe a year ago or 6 months ago. So I don't know if he's incorporated those sorts of things to try to bring the waist in while still obviously being absolutely enormous. If he can get that waist really under control for his next contest and bring the freak factor and the conditioning, Nick Walker can be back to being a guy that's discussed in terms of a Mr. Olympia. So can he do it? I don't know. I'd love to see it, but let me know what you think in the comments. Will Nick Walker get back to his best and even surpass his best? Now, I've got an update here from Terrence Ruffin, a guy who's finished as high as second in the Classic Physique Olympia. He's won the Arnold Classic Physique as well. He says prep begins. I don't know what show he's doing right now. Maybe the New York, somewhere, something around there. Weight 207, cutoff 187 or 182, depending obviously where he heights in at. Last comp weight was 169, so 38 pounds above that right now as his prep begins. Things feel super rusty right now. 2024 wasn't the perfect off season I expected, but I'm still pleased with what we were able to do. So Terrence Ruffin, by this update, looking pretty damn good. I'm pretty impressed with it overall. And he's a guy that's a phenomenal poser. I actually was going to predict him, and I think I even did in one podcast somewhere, that I believe he was going to win the Classic Physique Olympia in 2025. That's still a possibility for Terrence because he does have a lot of room to move on that weight cap, depending obviously where he heights in at. Can Terrence do it considering his off-season wasn't the best? I don't know. It's a tougher prediction to make now, but based on the update, I think he's definitely added some size, and I think Terrence Ruffin's one of those guys that when he gets in condition and then he gets on stage and he presents his physique the way he does, that's when he comes alive. So don't rule out Terrence Ruffin for your 2025 Classic Physique Olympia prediction because I think that he could pull off something crazy there. Our next update comes from James Hollingshead, the Shed, a rear lat spread. That, I don't know if that was some sort of rhyming thing that I just did or poetry, but anyway, his rear lat spread is looking ridiculous right now. Very, very impressed. I was actually talking to James on his live stream, on one of his gaming live streams, and yeah, he mentioned about how Stefan was happy about the waist. So I don't know if he sent other photos or if it was just this one, but the V-taper seems to improve dramatically. Now, I haven't looked at these side by side, but I'll try to find a photo of a British Grand Prix or one of these old packages of James just to see if, you know, the V-taper is more dramatic now, but it's a photo from a lowish angle too. It's not like it's taken from the top and it's making his waist look extra small because of that. So I'm really impressed with, you know, the lat thickness is ridiculous, the trap thickness that runs down his back, the erectors. There's nothing really missing there, and I'm looking forward to seeing when he actually poses it and seeing the detail like in the back double when he pulls back. But if his waist is smaller and the back's bigger and he's really filled out, and he looks really filled out in this update at, you know, 6.5, 7 weeks out, I'm very excited for James Hollingshead, and I think he's going to be pushing up a little bit higher in my predictions, although I think I have him pretty high already. Now, our next one is from Milos Sarcev, a surprising one, at 60 years of age, looking actually like awesome. Now, I know Milos and I had our little beef, but this is damn impressive for a 60-year-old man to be looking this damn good after, I believe he had some sort of a neck issue with a car crash or something. So yeah, pretty damn impressive there from Milos Sarcev. Let me know what you think in the comments. Did this sort of surprise you? I know Milos was going to do a show back when he actually ended up tanning up Jay Cutler for one of the contests, and he didn't do the show because he's like, I'm not going to say no to Jay, which is ironic because they do a podcast together now. That could have been Milos's comeback show, and we never got to see the comeback. So maybe Jay ruined the end of Milos's career. I don't know. But overall, Milos looking damn impressive in this physique update, especially considering he, I believe, went for a period where he didn't train or didn't train much at all. So shout out to Milos. And in our last story, Mike Van Wyck has spoken out at least a little bit or surrounding the Jeff Nippard situation. I haven't heard any other videos where he sort of spoke at least even vaguely on it. So I wanted to play it a little bit. I'll react a bit because, you know, on YouTube you have to.
That I've been involved with has just like literally opened my eyes to how pathetic and weak men are out there. There's not a woman on the internet that reached out to me and was like, hey, I don't like what happened there. That makes me uncomfortable. There was all men who are like scared of their own shadows and terrified that like someday, somewhere, some guy is going to put them in their place. And they're like terrified of that. So they project that weakness and that scaredness onto you, being like trying to insult you. It's even weirder to attack someone when there's an incident that happens between two people. These are two individuals.
So I don't know what you guys think about what Mike said about it's people projecting their fear onto you because they're coming out and attacking Mike. Obviously, like the you know, it was on TMZ, the whole Mike and Jeff Nippard situation. If you didn't see it, for me, like when I saw it, I didn't like it because I knew it was going to reflect badly on bodybuilding. For starters, that's like one point. And also, from what we could see, from what we heard and the story that was told, it looked pretty bad on Mike. Now, we saw a little bit more footage or something like that where Jeff did walk towards Mike. I mean, yeah, it didn't look good on Mike at all. And Mike sort of speaks a little bit more about this as well.
Me and the other individual. You don't know me, you don't know this person. You don't know either of us. But what you view from your past or shit that's gone on in your past, maybe you're a bully or whatever, you take the side of one or the other, not knowing anything about the situation as a whole and not knowing about each individual. So you pick a side and you jump in front of the bullet for each one of those people, right? Like, none of you should have an opinion on anything that happened in that incident because you don't know anything beyond the story. You were lied to originally from the person that posted it. They lied to you off the bat and told you something happened that didn't happen.
Mike saying that, you know, people having an opinion on this, like no one should have an opinion on it. It's just the reality of the times. I mean, it's anything like this, you know, like the Guy Sistanino, you know, hack squat video, all that sort of stuff. People are going to have an opinion on it because you guys have a high profile. Like, you've got hundreds of thousands of followers. You know, if Fuad does something, it's going to get, you know, talked about at least somewhat. And people are going to give their opinion and people are going to be asked their opinion and all that sort of stuff. Plus, with YouTube channels, you can't put just a video up and just leave it and say nothing and say, hey, let me know what you think. Because you've actually got to react. It's a thing in the YouTube clause. So I understand it, but I believe everyone gives their opinion on things, and it sucks when you're in it. Like, obviously for Mike, like if he's been wronged as well, if there is more to this behind the scenes and everything that we don't know about, and then Mike can't talk about it for legal reasons, there may well be. We don't really know at this point, and Mike does make a good point on that as well. So anyway, let's listen on.
Fabricated a story, and now you're going against the person who's in the video doing the act that you don't like, not knowing what brought the act about. This whole like outrage society where like as soon as something happens and people get like a snippet of something, like, and everyone's just like, I don't like that, I'm gonna give my opinion, people need to know what I think about this. It's like, we don't give a fuck, no one cares about you. If it's two grown men having a fucking argument and fighting, I am not about to go in there and be like, hey man, I'm like, not my problem.
So yeah, there's bits and pieces that I agree with and don't agree with what Mike said, because there's going to be dialogue online. Like, if Mike goes and does something now, there's going to be more dialogue because people are going to want to jump on as well, because there's a bunch of people that don't agree with Mike. And I'd say it's probably a larger percentage overall from what I've seen online personally, but that may well be because of how it was portrayed. We don't know all the facts yet, and hopefully we get some sort of answers on it and Mike's able to actually speak openly on it and tell us if there was actually more to the story than we know right now. Because, you know, after some people saw some footage and the rest of it, and they, you know, see something, they're like Team Mike, and people sort of, I don't know, people want to go hardcore one way or hardcore the other, when there's probably more nuance to it as well. But anyway, that's it for myself. Xavier Wills, Desktop Bodybuilding. We are out.